Good luck.
Hello, people, Mongoose again, and today I want to discuss emulation and whether it's good, whether it's bad, the good parts, the bad parts of it, whatever. Now, first things first, I want to just say now I'm not against emulation. I very rarely emulate games anymore, but I'll tell you the reasons why I do in a bit. But when I first started playing like older games, basically what happened when I first started getting into retro games or older games, it would have been like the early 2000, 2003, 4, 5 or something, and a friend of mine, basically because I was into the Final Fantasy series, but I had no prior knowledge of the Final Fantasy series, so he ripped on like a CD-ROM just loads of NES and SNES games, and then I could just play them on my PC, you know, and I absolutely loved it. I discovered some absolutely fantastic gems. And obviously I did play the Final Fantasy games, a lot of the earlier ones, and yeah, I did enjoy them and stuff. I've still got some of them now on DS and things and Game Boy Advance, but you know, there was a lot of other like fantastic games that I discovered because of emulation. Like I wouldn't have known about Bionic Commando until like when I had an NES back in the day. I mean, not many people did. I was lucky enough to get one through like some form of competition. I think my dad won it on a raffle or cereal packet or something random like that. And I think I had about 4 or 5 different games. So you know, my knowledge of the NES library wasn't that vast. So when I could just have, you know, hundreds of games or thousands, whatever, on this, you know, this one CD-ROM back in, you know, mid-2000s, it just blew my mind, and I discovered loads of great games, and, you know, Bionic Commando was one of them. So that's a great thing about emulation. I think, you know, you can discover games that you maybe, you know, you didn't know about before. But another great thing as well is you can research, like say you can see a game and it goes for about, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 quid. I mean, I don't pay them bloody prices for games, but you know, some people do, retro heads. And yeah, I won't pay that. Some people do, but if you want to pay that money for a game and you don't know how the game plays or anything like that, emulation's just a fantastic way to do that. You can kind of try, and I know, you know, there's differences in frame rate, and some emulation is more reliable than other, and you know there is various, you know, things that go into emulation, but you know, ultimately you can get a good idea of that game and how it plays, and if you would enjoy it, if you want to go out and spend, you know, good hard money on that game. And another fantastic thing I like about emulation is amazing games that are ridiculously expensive that I will never ever own in the physical form. For instance, a few years ago I heard everyone was on about Little Samson, and it's supposed to be a fantastic game, but it's quite dear, more expensive than, you know, than I'm willing to pay, way far more expensive than I'm willing to pay. Well, now what a tight arse I am. So I want to play that game, I can just emulate it. That's absolutely fine, you know. I don't see any like problem in emulation. I prefer to have things like the physical copy, I really do. Like I'd love to have every single NES game going, or SNES game, or, you know, a PlayStation game. But I haven't got the room for that, you know what I mean, or the money. So emulation is just a great way of just, you know, playing games that you don't own or could not own, basically. And it's just, I know a lot of people get very much like, you know, they look down upon emulation, which is fair enough. I mean, you know, like I say, I do prefer having the physical copy, you know, but I'm not going to look down my nose on people who emulate, because, you know, I do it myself, and, well, at times I haven't for a very long time now, but I have, and I know people that do, and there are good reasons to do that, you know what I mean? It's just, I think emulation kind of, there's a bit of like it's like a sort of dirty word between retro, like people who collect retro games. Emulation just seems like, oh, this evil word, like, ugh, emulation. And, you know, basically it's just another way of playing great games, and what, like, I don't see the problem in that. It doesn't matter how you play them. And yeah, that, you know, they might not run the same as they do on the original hardware. There's always going to be them games that don't quite work on emulators, or the people say, you know, it's not the same and things like that. But, you know, you very much get a good idea of it. And I just, you know, I can't look down my nose at people for emulating. You know, if someone was asking me, like, they were starting out collecting retro games, and they were like, oh, like, how should I start doing it? How should I start doing it? I'd probably just say to them, just bloody emulate, because you just, you know, there's the whole issue of space and money, and, you know, you can emulate and use EverDrives and all these different things, and basically, you know, you can have the entire console's library on one cartridge, or, you know, on one CD if you're playing on your PC, or, you know, as ROMs, you know, that you've downloaded from the internet and stuff like that. So, you know, it to me is not a bad thing, but, you know, if people want to feel that way, you know, then I can definitely accept their opinion, but I'm not in that way of thinking at all. You know, I can appreciate, you know, why people prefer physical media as I do, but it's just like this whole kind of elitist point, you know, like, oh, you know, nobody's going to own every single game that they want. You know, there's always going to be that game that you want, whether you can't find it, you know, it's so rare you can't find it, or it's so rare and expensive you'll never afford it. We're all going to have that game, and emulation is a way of doing that. Also as well, like emulation, like arcade games, I'm never going to have an arcade cabinet in my house. I have barely got room for games, so I'm never going to be able to play like arcades on a stand-up arcade cabinet, and, you know, the only way I'm going to do that is through emulation. So yeah, again, it's just a way to experience things that you know, you're not going to get the opportunity to own the physical copy of, and also just to save space. So I mean, what's your thoughts on emulation? Do you guys like emulation? Do you emulate games? Did you, or have you stopped? You know, if you know, hate emulation, just let us know and tell us why. You know, it's like everybody's entitled to their opinion. This is just mine. You know, I want to know everybody's opinion on the word emulation. I've said emulation so many times. Anyway, I'll leave us like I always do, say thank you very much for watching, people, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. Bye.